going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Junior's World of Soul. This is a special episode of Junior's World of Soul. I am talking about the disco era, and my favorites and my favorite songs from that era, and just personal stories and things like that. And the reason why I came up with this video is actually because of my favorite show right now, The Get Down. The Get Down, if you are not watching this show, you are missing out on greatness. And that's why I came in with the song Telepathy, because it's on the soundtrack. It's on iTunes. I'm going to put that more in the info box too. Check out that song with Christina Aguilera and Nile Rodgers. And Nile Rodgers we're going to talk later in the video. But going back to The Get Down. The Get Down is basically a story of the transition of disco to hip-hop in the Bronx in the 1970s, where, you know, the birthplace of hip-hop, because, you know, it started with the founders, Grandmaster Flash and DJ Kool Herc on the ones and twos, and they were spinning records, and they had their own lane and things like that. So it's a good thing to watch, and you guys, you are missing out on something. I really advise you to watch it. It's on Netflix. It's produced by Nas, Grandmaster Flash, and one of my idols, one of my inspirations, Nelson George. So, you know, while I was watching part 1 of the 6 episodes and hearing all the epic music, I felt like I wanted to talk about the disco era a little bit. Now, I did a video maybe about 7-8 months ago on Donna Summer and Rihanna, because I feel like those two are like, they gave me a lot to compare and contrast with, because I feel like Donna Summer was the soundtrack of the disco era, and I feel like Rihanna is the soundtrack, her music is the soundtrack of kind of from like 2006 to 2013. Like, you know, her music is definitely the soundtrack. Like, during that time, you think, during 2006 to 2014, let's say, you gotta talk about Rihanna. There's no way her music, you know, she's the soundtrack. So I compared those two, but I really didn't talk about disco like that. So, you know, from watching The Get Down, it really inspired me to do a video of my top 5 disco songs and give y'all, like I said, some history and some personal stories. So hopefully you guys are ready to listen to some classic disco music and vibe with me and check out my craziness, because y'all know in my videos I always talk about my family and how we love music and what music does for us. So, you know, I hope y'all ready. And I feel like another reason why I wanted to do a video with disco, because I feel like disco added all types of genres, and it helped create the things that, you know, the music for the future, like where we at now. You know, we with the EDM thing right now, and that started with disco music, because if you listen to Donna Summer, I Feel Love, you can hear like that EDM being created, and I feel like disco we should definitely respect disco a lot more than we do. So for me, I wanted to do a video dedicated all to disco, and the inspiration came from The Get Down. So like I said, let's get into it. Let's get into some good music. Let's talk about it. So I was introduced to disco when I was about 6 or 7. Now, y'all know by now my family is a soulful family. We love soul music. That's just what we are. That's who we are. And that's all the music that I knew before my mom left to go to South Carolina to go to school. So when she went to South Carolina, I was introduced to a lot other genres. So, you know, on her campus on Fridays, they will always have the old school, you know, I didn't know what to call it, but it was old school at night. And, you know, Mom will always play it. So I can remember this Friday night where I was chilling in my room, playing Super Nintendo, probably didn't want to be bothered, probably was on punishment for real, for probably running my mouth, because as y'all can see from these videos, I can talk, and like my mom said, it's a gift and a curse, because, you know, back then it was like she taught me to speak up, but then I would speak up to her, and I would be on punishment a lot, so I couldn't go outside, so I didn't want to be bothered. I wanted to just chill and be in my room. So me hearing the radio and mom is blasting it and I'm in my room, and then I hear this, and this was the beginning. And it goes a little something like this. So, that caught me. I like literally stopped playing, probably Mario during that time. And I stopped and I said, what the heck is that? And I'm like, it's different. It sounds weird, but it sounds good. And I was like, well, wait a minute. That's not Sam Cooke. That's not Bobby Womack. That's not Tyrone Davis. That's not Joe Simon. And that ain't James Brown. And I'm like, that ain't Aretha. That ain't Gladys. That ain't none of them. So I'm like, this some new shit. Now, mind y'all, I'm 7 years old. I'm saying this in my mind. I ain't saying this out loud. You know what I'm saying? But then my mom comes in the room, and she said, come on, baby, that's my joint right there. So I'm looking at her because I'm probably on punishment, so I'm mad at her. So I'm just like, man, whatever. So she was like, come on, baby, this is my song. So she grabs my hand, and then this plays like this. Got no competition, only he writes my prescription. Dr. Love. So I'm like, so we rocking off, you know what I'm saying? We jamming to it a little bit or whatever. So I'm like, Ma, who is this? So she was like, all right, I'll tell you when the song is over. So I'm like, okay. So mind y'all, me not realizing this long version is like 7 or 8 minutes long. So by now I'm over it because I want to know what the heck the song is. We've been dancing for this long. So speaking of that, going, you know, maybe a couple of days ago, I was with my best friends, Nikita and Shelly, and we were in the car, and Eddie Kendra's Girl Can Change My Mind. And that song was playing, and Shelly was like, well, damn, how long is this song? It's like 7 minutes long. And I was just like, yo, that's the 12-inch version. That's the long version. So going back to First Choice, I was over it. I was like, y'all, I'm like, come on, Ma, I want to know who this is. So finally, it went off, and finally it was just like, okay, finally, I want to hear it. I want to know who these are. My mom was like, oh, that's First Choice. And I was like, well, Ma, it sounds different. Like, the music is different. She was like, oh, baby, that's disco. And I'm like, well, what the heck is disco? And in a nutshell, you know, she can't really tell a 7-year-old exactly what it was. But basically, she just was like, you know, disco is where it makes you feel good, you can dance, and it has its own sound. So from that moment, that was my introduction on learning what disco was. So then, you know, my musical teacher, which is my mom, I done said it in about 85% of my videos, and she just sat me down afterwards because now she knew, I think my mom knew what to get me out of my funk. She knew to play music because she knew that would be the only way to get me out of my funk. So then I started asking questions. I want to know. So I'm sitting down and I'm asking, I'm like, well, what was popular and things like that? And she started talking to me about Studio 54 and how that was the hottest spot to be, and that's where all the celebrities went and they partied, and it was, you know, it was a good thing. You know, learning now, it was a lot going on in Studio 54, and when I got older, I was like, oh, that was going on in Studio 54, but the music was rocking, though. But, you know, she was just like, yeah, and she just started explaining. She was like, well, speaking of First Choice, she was like, I'm going to play you my favorite song by them, and I'm like, your favorite song by them? Wasn't that the one? And she's like, no, this is my favorite song because they talking about me. And they talking about my sign, and I was like, they talking about your sign? I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting on her, so she was like, let me go to it. So she pulls out one of the tapes, because that was the radio. So she pulled out one of her tapes, and I remember her playing this. And it goes a little something like this. I've been done by God. Hey, so I'm rocking to it, And I'm like, oh, that sounds good. So I'm rocking with her, and she was like, oh, no. Wait till we get to the part where they talking about me. And I'm like, okay, well, what part are they talking about you, Ma? So she goes to the part, and she's like, here we go. Hold on. Let me back it up a minute, because it goes too fast on here.
Now they call me Aquarius. You know what that means? That means that no man in the world can let go of this Aquarius. You see what I'm talking about?
So now you see, I got something here that you don't ever want to turn down. I got something for your mind, your body, and your soul. Now, that's my mom going in like that, because she's an Aquarius. So she was like, and from that moment, that became one of my favorite disco songs. The night that I was introduced to it, I found one of my favorite disco joints of all time, Let No Man Put Us Under. And I just remember that night being introduced to disco, and I felt like that when Books was introduced to hip-hop. Like, he wrote poetry, but he felt like once he got into that since his boy took him to, you know, the get down, it's like he found himself. And it felt like that when I heard, you know, this for the first time, and it was just like, whoa, this is great. And from that moment, it's like, yo, I had to find more disco. So that night I will never forget, and that's why Let No Man Put Us Under from First Choice is one of my favorite disco songs. And what makes it so perfect, I think y'all know by now that Mary J. Blige is my favorite artist of all time, and she redid the song on her Mary album. So me and Mary kind of relate a little bit, because she be knowing what I be feeling and what I need to hear, and she did this on the Mary album. So I give y'all a little bit of a sample of Mary's version, and it goes a little something like this. Yeah, so I had to start it off. That is my first favorite song on the disco list, Let No Man Put Us Under by First Choice. Y'all, that is a classic record. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, me and my mom, when that song comes on, we go crazy. That's another one of the songs where me and her go crazy on. So, Let No Man Put Us Under. So, you know, in my opinion, like I said in the beginning of the video, I feel like disco adds all the genres. Like, all the genres, I feel, is because First Choice, Let No Man Put Us Under, it had the disco vibe, but you could also feel the funk. There was funk there, you know what I'm saying? Because it was like back in the 70s, and when it came to disco, you had a lot of groups, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like, you know, they added a little funk to it. It was disco, but it was still funky, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I feel like, you know, since Mom in the beginning gave me kind of the teaching of disco, it was just like, okay, like she said, I got little genres in there, because now when I was hearing Let No Man Put Us Under, I was hearing the funk, I was hearing a little bit of James influence and Sly and the Family Stone, and I was like, okay, cool. So, you know, speaking of adding all genres and all that, my next one of my favorite disco songs is by Donna Summer, and she's the queen of disco, like, seriously. And if you're gonna talk about disco, like I said in the beginning, you cannot talk about disco and not talk about Donna Summer. And she had hits like Bad Girls, I Feel Love, On the Radio, so many others. But I feel like Donna, when it was time for a bridge, to me, she always took it to church, because that was her background. And I feel like she's so underrated as a vocalist, because everybody, you know, digs her for the fast songs. And if you watch a lot of her concerts, like I said in the video that I did on her, you could tell that girl could really blow. Like, she could sing. And you could tell a lot of her singing, you can hear the gospel influence. And the one song that did it for me with all her songs, because I have her greatest hits, it was Dim All the Lights. And that joint has a disco vibe, of course, but it definitely has a gospel influence. So, Here is Dim All the Lights, and it goes a little something like this. I'm gonna get a DJ, y'all, and it's gonna be rock and watch. Yeah. So when that comes on now, y'all, and I wish like I can stand so I can be dancing like crazy, because when that song comes on, I go nuts. But the part, like I said, is the bridge, and it gives me that gospel feeling because it sounds like a choir. And it was amazing, and I go in on that song. Man, I put that joint on my Instagram while I was riding in my car, holding it, and I'm just like this, trying to vibe to it and record at the same time. Don't do that. Do never text and drive. It's not a good thing. Yeah. So let's go to this gospel part that I love so much. And it goes a little something like this. Come on, man. If you're not feeling that gospel vibe right there, something is completely wrong, like you bugging. And every time I hear that song and I'm vibing to it, I think about the Clark sisters, You Brought the Sunshine. And that song was a gospel record, but it's also a disco joint. And it was played all in the clubs and all that, and it goes a little something like this, and I love this song, and every time I think about Dim All the Lights, I think about this song, and here we go. The light. So I think about that song, and I'm so glad that disco artists actually put gospel into it. And to me, I love the gospel feel of a record. It makes you feel good, and to me, it's telling me that it's all right. God is with me, and He's always with me. And I feel like when something like Dim All the Lights, and you get that gospel feeling, it's like God is with me. He just wants me to have a good time. And another thing, and with You Brought the Sunshine being able to be played in, disco clubs and Studio 54 and things like that, it was also a word to spread the message about God. So I thought that's a beautiful thing, and I love that disco brought a lot of the gospel influence into there, and that's what I love about disco, because they brought a lot of genres into it. So number 2 is Dim All the Lights by Donna Summer, another one of my favorites. So, speaking of different genres, again, and bridging different genres, and when it comes to disco, another one of my favorites actually gives you a little bit of the pop rock kind of thing in the mix. And I learned this song from another one of my inspirations, Felix Hernandez from the Rhythm Review. And one day, I think we were going somewhere, and it was about an hour. He was playing disco for about an hour, yeah. And I heard this song, and I was like, what is this? But the joint was tight, and from the beginning, it kind of caught me, because I was just like, I'm hearing the guitar, so I'm like, that's a little rock tip right there, and I was like, wow, and it goes a little something like this. Just, the guitar just gets you in the beginning, and it goes like this, y'all. So I just remember when I heard it, I remember looking at Mom, and I said, Mom, that sounded a little rock. It's like AC/DC. Now, mind y'all, that was the only rock group I knew at the time. So when it talked about rock music, that's the only one that I could think of. And she was like, yeah, baby, that's disco. They incorporate, so many genres in it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, Mom, who are they? And of course she didn't know it. So of course I had to do my own research and go find it because I heard the chorus. It only takes a minute, girl. Hey, to fall in love. Let's fall in love. I love that. It's by Tarvis. Hopefully I pronounce the name right. Tarvis. I love this song. And it's like anytime this song comes on and the guitar riff comes in, it's like I lose it. It's crazy. Like, that's one of the songs where, you know, sometime in the crib when I'm with mom and grandma and we chilling and we just vibing to the music, and we sometimes listen to Music Choice. Music Choice Classic Soul. We go from there and we kind of go to solid gold oldies. That's just how my family do. So when this song comes on, my family looks at me like I'm crazy because I go in on the guitar riff because I'm like, yo, that guitar riff is crazy. And I get on my rock shit. And my family just looks at me like, this boy is really crazy. But okay, we gonna let him breathe. We gonna sit while we look at him like he crazy. But yeah, so this is the part where I kind of really go off on, and it's just dope. And it's like the breakdown of the record, and it's just so dope. Here we go. Woo! Fall in love. Yo, I love that. Like, I go, as y'all can see in this video, like, I'm going crazy off that joint, because that just guitar right there just takes me somewhere. And again, you see how they just added that into, like, a little disco flavor, add a little Latin flavor to it, and it's still a disco record. You can still dance and groove to it, and that's one reason why I love this song, because it seems like it's so many genres in this song. Rock, pop, a little bit of funk, and then a little bit of Latin, and then of course, disco, and it just makes you want to move, and that's why it's one of my favorite songs, man. And I love the fact that J-Lo used it in her song, Hold It, Don't Drop It. And I remember when I first heard the song, I was like, oh, snap, you better go ahead, J-Lo. You used the damn Tarvis, Only Takes a Minute. I was like, okay, I can dig it, and it's a dope record. So that's why I just love that song, because it's just so many genres in one, but it's just so disco. You know what I'm saying? So that's number 3 on my list of favorite disco songs. Now, the next part, I feel like what disco did was it brought dancers to the club like it never has before. Like, before, you know, we had the twist and the mashed potatoes and the jerk, you know what I'm saying? We had those, but in the 70s, it was all about going to the clubs, and you know what I'm saying? It was just like, let's make up a dance. And another one of my favorite disco songs, and if it's not on your list, I don't know why, and it's just a classic disco record, and it's The Hustle by Van McCoy, and I just love the song, and it's just so dope. And when you hear just the beginning, you ready to get down with the get down. And here we go, and it goes a little something like this. Here we go. Hey, 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 woo, hey, 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 hey. Oh, love that joint. Love that joint to death. And The Hustle will always be special to me, because as a kid, my mom always tried to show me how to do the hustle as a kid. And I never got it. I used to mess up, step on her feet, do all that. And I know she used to get annoyed. I know she used to get annoyed at me like, this damn boy, but you know, the drinks was flowing, so mama was all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as that was flowing and the music was rocking, I could mess up all I want. She wouldn't get too mad, you know what I'm saying? But I know she was still annoyed, but she couldn't get too mad, because she was like, hey, okay, whatever. You know, the drinks is popping, you know what I'm saying? So it was all good. But the thing that took me by surprise was my pops was the biggest hip-hop fan, but he knew how to hustle, and it was crazy for me to watch him. And it was like, I remember looking at him in amazement like, this is the big hip hop head, and he actually knows how to do the hustle. And to see him and my mom do it in front of me, it was just epic. And that's why this song was just so, it's a favorite of mine. And come on, when you talk about disco, you have to talk about the hustle. And, you know, now, you know, it's so crazy because now every time me and mom dance, we always do the hustle. It doesn't even matter. It can be a hip-hop joint. Me and mom would start doing the hustle, and we would do it on beat. And it's crazy, but when I was a little kid, I could never get it. But now I'm older, and me and her be doing the hustle, and we be having our drinks in our hand, and we damn sure don't spill it. We know we do not spill no drinks. That's what we don't do. You know what I'm saying? So, but I feel like the hustle was like a blueprint of a lot of dances now for the club, like Electric Slide, the Cupid Shuffle, the Booty Call, Dabbing, Crank That, Two-Step, like, and even the True Step, you know what I'm saying, and all that. It's just, I think the hustle let it be okay for brothers to want to dance. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can dance. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's still now that brothers like to be on the wall, but I feel like the hustle kind of made it all right in the 70s, and then dances just started coming. And now, you see, it's a new dance every freaking week for the clubs. And it's just like, you go to the club and you be like, damn, this is a new one? I'm just getting used to dabbing right now. So, y'all got a new one? So, that's why I'm like, I feel like if Van McCoy didn't even come, it's the music. Like, he's not even saying much. It's just the music. And it's just like, if he didn't come up with that, then I feel like a lot of dances that we have for the club now wouldn't be if it wasn't for the hustle. And yes, we can go back, like I said, to the twist and the jerk and the mashed potatoes and all that kind of stuff. But the hustle was it. You know what I'm saying? And it created, I feel like it was the blueprint for what we have now. And, you know, I feel like, yeah, if it wasn't for the hustle, it wouldn't be any dabbing going on. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's why I had to have the hustle on this list, man. And that's number 4. And let's play it. Let's go out with it. And it goes a little something like this. Hey! Woo! Woo! Hey! Come on! I wish I had my mom so y'all could see it, because that is sure a sight to see, I'm telling y'all. But the last song on my top 5 list is kind of what the Get Down is about. Like I said, it's the transition of disco to hip-hop. And this song right here is the reason why hip-hop became mainstream. It really is, and it's just a feel-good record, and it makes you want to dance, and I'm just going to play it, and it goes a little something like this. Hey, hey, these are the good times. Joint rocks, man. Love that joint. Love that joint. Now, that's a song that if I'm DJing for the family, I gotta play that song, because it's just a feel-good record. And it just makes you want to boogie. Get your boogie on. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I just gotta leave the computer and get on the floor with my family with that one. Like, I just let it rock because it's such a good joint. And, you know, like I said, it's crazy because I came in with Christina and Nile Rodgers with Telepathy, and he was part of Chic, and he was the producer. So, you know, he's legendary. And if it wasn't for him producing this song, we wouldn't have hip-hop. I mean, we would have it, but it wouldn't be mainstream, because Sugar Hill took it for Rapper's Delight, and look what we have. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, and this song is just a feel-good record. Like, you gotta love it. Woo! Keep your cab behind. Yeah, love that joint. I love that joint. And I feel like, you know, that song is just epic, and that gotta be on your disco list. If it's not, hey, it is what it is. But another thing, I feel like Nile Rodgers should definitely get his stripes, because he's a big reason for a lot of artists. You know, he helped Diana with her, you know, Upside Down. Madonna, her album, her Like a Virgin album, he did the whole thing. Like, he's a legend. And like I always say, give the people their stripes while they're here. And Nile Rodgers deserves so much respect. And this song, Good Times, has to be on your disco list. If you at a party, at a 70s party, that song is going to play, period, point blank. But every time you think about that song, come on, man, you cannot help but think about this. Come on. And me, my crew, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. See, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello. To the back, to the right, the red and the brown, the purple and yellow. But first, I gotta bang, bang, a boogie to the boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie, let's rock. You don't stop, the rhythm that'll make your body rock. So far you heard my voice, and when I got two friends along, and that's on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. So yes, after I play Good Times, I play Rapper's Delight. You just have to, because they use the sample. And you know, then they was calling that song, they weren't even calling it hip hop. They was calling that song disco, which is crazy. So you could just see the evolution of where hip hop is started and where it is now. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I think the Get Down is such a good show for everybody to watch. I'm loving how they really are into the essence of disco music, because in the 70s, that's just what it was. At the end of the 70s, disco was running it. And I don't think disco gets a lot of respect, especially in the soul area, because everybody seems to go from the 60s to the early 70s, and then they stop, and then we go to the 80s. Like, we forget about, you know, disco had a strong 7 years, man. They were running. It was so serious that the American Music Award had to give disco their own, like, awards after a while, because it was just, disco was just running it, you know what I mean? And from, like I said, from 75 to 82, it was kind of like on it, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, those are my 5 favorite disco joints. Dim the Lights by Donna Summer, Good Times by Cheek, The Hustle by Van McCoy, Let No Man Put Us Under by First Choice, and It Only Takes a Minute by Tardez. And as you can see and as you can hear from those songs, disco crossed a lot of barriers. It really did. And I feel like it should get a lot more respect than it does. And that's why I think this show, Get Down, I'm about to call it Good Times, but Get Down really, really shows the essence of where disco was and how we went from one thing and then we went to another, which was the birth of hip-hop. So I really enjoyed doing this video. I was so excited to do it because it's just so good music, and I just wanted y'all to jam with me a little bit, hear my crazy stories. Y'all know how crazy I am, but like I said, I love the fact that it's always, I feel like new and old makes a perfect soundtrack, because I want a lot of these younger generations to understand, stop calling everything old, because everything is just a cycle. It seems like it's a cycle. Like I said with disco, now we have EDM. Like, I feel like that's it, everything, it just has this moment and it always comes back. You know what I'm saying? Like the clothes and the styles and everything. We going back into the 90s. People are wearing high top fades and it's cool. When I just saw Lil Fizz and Love and Hip Hop before I recorded this mess, and I don't know why I was doing it to myself. And he was wearing a Gumby. Like, everything is just, I just want this younger generation to just stop and look at your history before you start calling things old. And I just like I said, the old and new makes a perfect soundtrack. And that is what I love. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope y'all enjoyed the songs. And if your favorite disco songs, put them in the more info box. Tell me your favorite disco songs. And tell you what, give me your top 3 and put it in the more info box. So yeah, so for all that, I think I'm going to go out with this joint. This joint is a classic R&B, disco, whatever you want to call it. It's a classic record, and I felt like I wanted to go out on this. And it goes a little something like this. Who really loves me? I'm out, y'all. Peace. Y'all keep grooving. Hey. Peace, y'all.